Overtime. Sponsored by Wendy's. They got you for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and everything in between. High school sports, we've got it covered. Overtime starts now.
Yes, it does. Hello and welcome to Overtime, our weekly look at high school sports in the state line. I'm Scott Leber.
And I'm David Greenberg. Yes, the pandemic has taken a big chunk out of high school sports and high school spirit this fall. But we're here to help fill in the gaps and keep you informed on what's going on and what could eventually happen.
That's right, and we have another fun show in store for you. We're going to feature Auburn tennis player Belen Nievenhoven. This young lady is very, very talented. We'll get to know Boylan swimmer Bryn Kiley as well.
In our Glory Days segment, we'll look back at Dakota's first state championship football team from 2005 with star fullback and linebacker Matt Wenger. And it's our week 4 of our Battle of the Stadiums contest. Right now, let's get this show off and running with some highlights from this past week. Last Saturday morning, the Belvedere Bucks hosted a cross-country meet. We start with the girls' meet here. They kicked off the event. 2 other schools also partook in the race, Boylan and Guilford. Here we are nearing the first mile point with a massive lead. It was Guilford's Michelle Gasman. She's only a sophomore, but you wouldn't know that from her performance. Now, here she comes down the final stretch. Gasman won by almost a minute and a half over second-place finisher Rachel Hilby. Boylan won the team championship. Guilford took second and Belvedere third. Gasman was pleased with her individual win afterwards.
During the summer, we didn't really get to train as we usually do, and so it feels good to come out here with a team and actually know that I'm in this good of shape.
To the boys' race, now at Belvedere. It was a windy one out there. Not the easiest running conditions when it's gusty like that, but regardless, overall, it was a really nice morning. The mile 1 turn here, you see this one's a lot closer than the girls' race. In the front is Guilford's Juan Del Real, followed by a couple of his teammates and a couple runners from Boylan as well. Now down the final stretch, Del Real was able to hold off his competitors and get the first place nod, helping Guilford to the team championship. Boylan was second and Belvedere third. Del Real credits his unique training to his high performance.
Just my boxing training that I've been doing for the past 3 years, it got me the stamina that I have now so I can run these races good.
All right, thunder on 3, 1, 2, 3.
Thunder! Well, there was more cross-country action Saturday morning on the north side of Belvedere. It was a tri-meet involving Belvedere North, Auburn, and Freeport. It was an ideal day for a morning run on the campus grounds. Now, Belvedere North's Nick Lenzen won a week ago at Jefferson. He did it again. His time over 3 miles was 15 minutes, 55 seconds. Finishing second, 8 seconds behind him, was Auburn's Peter Maculent. Belvedere North took the next 4 places, so the Blue Thunder ran away with the meet. They had 19 points. Auburn took second place and Freeport third. Lenzen says he's happy with the progress he made from a week ago.
I felt way stronger even. I went faster even for the 3 mile than I did for the 2 mile last weekend, so it was a good race.
How do you like your home course here?
Oh, it's really fun. I love the finishing on the track, the last 300 meters. That definitely makes up for it being out of school.
Well, in the girls' race, Belvedere North's Sydney Elder completely ran away from the field. She won by 26 seconds. Auburn swept the next 3 spots. Taylor Wortell was the Knights' top runner in second place. She was followed by Christina Nera. But Auburn's 4th runner finished well back, and the Knights don't have a 5th runner, so Belvedere North was the winning team.
It was nice to get my sea legs under me again. I miss my seniors from last year, but we have a really good new group of freshmen, and the team dynamic is awesome. It was good to race with them today.
At the Harlem Boys Cross Country Invitational last Saturday, Hononegah won with 25 points, led by individual champion Nathan Holbrader. Harlem took second and East third. Only 2 teams competed in the girls' race. Hononegah swept the top 5 places to easily defeat Harlem. Indigo Sturrud of Hononegah was the individual winner.
Check out some tennis action from Tuesday at Boylan's Indoor Tennis Center. The Titans hosted Belvedere North. Boylan's Maddie Montalbano squared off against Valeria Walters. Maddie had a really nice couple of sets and won 6-love and 6-2. On the other singles court was Boylan's Zofia Prashar and Belvedere North's Sam Coles. This one was a really fun match. A lot of back and forth between the two. Coles won the first set 6-3. Zofia won the second set 6-1. And then in a first to 10 tiebreaker, it was Coles who came out on top. The first doubles court was occupied by Boylan's Isabel First and Elise Pecora. They won their match against Sarah Prokop and Abby Rathburn 6-love and 6-3. It was a close one until the end, but Boylan claims the victory 3-2. The IHSA is seeking permission to resume control over determining the resumption of sports from state health and government officials.
IHSA Executive Director Craig Anderson has sent a letter to Governor Pritzker making that request. That's created a lot of speculation that the IHSA might be ready to reinstate fall sports in state tournaments. But Anderson says there have been no discussions along those lines, but they could happen if the IHSA's request is granted.
Many states around Illinois are going ahead with their high school football seasons. They're playing ball in Iowa and Indiana. 68% of the schools in Wisconsin will start playing games next week. Michigan had originally postponed football until the spring, but has reversed course and will soon be starting up. So that brings us to our poll question of the week. Do you still agree with the IHSA's decision to postpone high school football in Illinois to the spring?
All right, cast your yes or no answer on any tech device. You can do that by going to mystateline.com/interact. That's mystateline.com/interact. We'll update you later in the show on how you're answering.
Coming up next, we'll check out some of your school spirit photos. Plus, we'll meet an Auburn tennis player who is head and shoulders above other high school tennis players in northern Illinois.
And later in our Glory Days segment, we take you back to Dakota's first state championship football team with one of its star players. You're watching Overtime.
As we've said many times, Overtime is all about keeping school spirit alive and well during the pandemic. So let's show you some of our school spirit photos for this week. Our first one is the HARLEM dance team from last year performing at halftime of a game. Very nice, ladies, the heart and spirit of the team.
That's right. This next one is Jefferson head football coach Jake Arnold overseeing one of the Jayhawks practices last season. We're interested to see what strides the Jayhawks can make under Arnold in his second season.
Our third photo is of the Orangeville Bronco mascot, at least the head of the Bronco, worn by a young fan at a game last year. That Bronco looks pretty tame, but I wouldn't mess around with it.
Yeah.
Well, we want to see more of your school spirit photos.
They can be from last year or from decades ago. Send us those old photos of you as an athlete, a cheerleader, a band member, or a fan wearing your school colors. Don't be shy. Email those to sports@fox39.com. That's sports@fox39.com. And be sure to include your name and a brief description of the photo. Well, the Nick 10 has never had a girls' state champion in singles tennis, but Auburn's Belen Nievenhoven came oh so close last fall.
Yeah, she finished second, and now as a senior, she could go down as the best girls' tennis player Rockford has ever seen. When it comes to tennis, Auburn's Belen Nievenhoven only knows one thing: dominance.
Nice shot.
Just the competitive nature of everyone else motivates me.
In her family,
I mean, obviously it got me started into tennis.
tennis runs deep.
I think a lot of people know like how that goes.
Her brother Quentin plays in college, and her mom
Definitely they've been a big motivator
is a coach.
because there's been points where I'm not even really sure if like tennis is what I want to do, but they kind of remind me that like, I've put my whole life into this.
They're the ones she knows she can always rely on.
So honestly, they're probably one of the biggest things that keep me going and keep me playing, just because like it's family and I want to make them proud, but also like have bragging rights over whatever.
When she plays her brother, she doesn't always win,
But I can definitely get him really mad. So we don't play a lot because it usually doesn't end well.
but that's okay,
I have that little advantage over him.
because she beats just about everybody else. As a sophomore in Class 2A, she finished 4th in the state finals tournament. Last year, as a junior, she finished 2nd. To continue her year-to-year improvement, there's only one spot left for her to go.
For myself, obviously get back to state finals and hopefully win it this time. Just work on, I guess, college, just improving my game as much as I can, some mental stuff.
For a while, she wasn't even sure she'd get that shot at redemption.
It was a little disheartening, I guess. I don't know. I think I was just really motivated after state and then like coming into it not even knowing if we were gonna have it. I don't know. Right now I'm just trying to focus on like taking it day by day.
One area in which she'll look to ace is being a leader. As a senior, she's not only looking to improve herself, but bring her teammates with her.
Obviously, it's making myself out to be a good role model, you know, showing them how you should act, you know, be on the court, but also just like someone they can talk to and look up to.
As one of the team captains, head coach Tracy Palmer relies on her to be the example.
She's not real outspoken, but she gets her point across. They see how hard she works, and they kind of follow her tempo.
As the tension of uncertainty surrounding this season looms like a deciding match point, she's hoping to come away with advantage.
After everything that's happened, we didn't even know if we were going to have a season. And with it being my senior season, I mean, I'm just looking forward to it. Even if nothing really happens, I think it'll just be fun no matter what.
Yeah, very impressive. Nievenhoven is undecided what college she will attend.
Yeah, and as of now, the IHSA is not planning on having a state tournament, but that could change, hopefully so for Berlin.
Up next, it's our Week 4 Battle of the Stadiums competition.
And we take you back to 2005, the year when the Dakota Indians were celebrating a state football championship for the first time. The Northwest Upstate Illini Conference has been collecting state championships by the bushel over the past few decades. The Dakota Indians have contributed to that by winning 3 titles. We focus on the first one in our Glory Days segment that came in the fall of 2005. The Indians took a 13-0 record into Champaign to face once-beaten Aledo for the 2A championship. The Indians loved to run the football with halfback Tyler Olson and fullback Matt Wenger. Those two had combined for almost 3,000 yards rushing going into the game. In this game, Dakota ran 60 offensive plays, 54 of those were runs. Wenger piled up the biggest stats. He rushed for 163 yards and 3 touchdowns. The first one in the second quarter still left the Indians trailing 8-6, but the next two put them up 20-8 late in the third. Aledo cut it to 20-15 in the fourth, but a desperation pass by Aledo on the final play of the game was batted down in the red zone, and Dakota had a 20-15 win for its first state championship in Jerry Lano's 17th season at Dakota. The Indians had finally reached the top. Other key players on that team included Luke Winterhalter, Jared Benedetto, quarterback Darren Olson, Paul Graybill, Brandon Houghton, Kurt Dolphinbull, and Kevin Kirchner. Joining us now on the phone is one of the captains of that team, fullback, middle linebacker Matt Wenger. Matt, is there one play from that championship game that stands out in your memory?
There's probably a handful, but I think it's the last play. Obviously, when they threw the Hail Mary, and we were able to knock it down. When you actually go back and watch it on tape, it was pretty scary because that ball, it wasn't a clean bat down, and it kind of hung up there for a little bit, and there had the trailer coming, and the guy almost caught the ball, which could have been disastrous for us, but it worked out.
You guys trailed until late in the third quarter. At any point up until then, was there any panic on the sideline or in the huddle?
No, I wouldn't say there was panic. We knew going into that game that they were a really good team, that they were very balanced, and it was going to be a big challenge for us. It just kind of, we had to start doing a couple of different things. Made a couple adjustments at halftime, and then in the third quarter we came out and I think we had like an 18 or 19 play drive, and we scored, took the lead, and then that was really, I think, kind of changed the game at that point. Put us in control. I wouldn't say we took over, but we were able to control the clock, control the ball. I think we had the ball for 8 or 9 minutes in the third quarter, and it obviously ended up winning the game. So.
You had a big game individually, rushing for 163 yards and 3 touchdowns, and you led the defense with 13 tackles and a sack. You always played physical and with great emotion. How, Matt, would you describe the fire that burned in you that day as you tried to get that first state championship for Dakota?
It's probably one of the most memorable games I've ever played in. When you're growing up with all your buddies, winning state championship is something that you all want to do at some point one day, and having the opportunity to do it, and when it's right there, in your grasp, you just kind of grab it, don't let go. You just gotta, you refuse to lose, and that's the attitude that I had, and we all absolutely had a lot of guys that way, which is why we won.
So many of the guys on that team were also great wrestlers, yourself included. We all know how mentally tough wrestlers are. How much did that wrestling background help you and the guys on the football field?
It was huge. We had probably the most mentally tough team out of any of the teams that have ever come through this area. We had a lot of guys that were, pretty tough guys, and we're all in the same group, and we're able to get it done.
Our thanks to Matt Wenger for joining us. Matt currently lives in the Dakota area, and he's helping out at the family's cheese factory in Davis. Coming up next, we get to know Boylan swimmer Bryn Kiley, her passion for swimming, and more. Right now, it's time for our overtime trivia question. Which Nick 10 head football coach has the most tenure at one school as the head coach? Which Nick 10 football coach has the most tenure at one school as the head coach? Well, the answer after the break.
Once again, here's our overtime trivia question. Which Nick 10 head football coach has the most tenure at one school as the head coach?
The answer is John Cacciatore. This next season will be his 9th season as the head coach of the Boylan Titans.
Our local athletes put a lot of time and effort into their sports, but we know there is more to them than just athletics.
That's why we bring you our Getting to Know You segment. And this week I sit down with Boylan Junior swimmer Bryn Kiley. She was a Nick 10 champion last year in 4 events.
Basketball and golf. That's your dad, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah, he does. He tells me a lot of stories. I like that it's different from every other sport. It was hard in the off season because you can't go outside and run or do something else to stay in shape, and it's just you have to swim to be in swimming shape. I like Spanish because that's the language I take, and I think it's fun to learn about another culture and learn a different language.
Can you say something in Spanish for me? Have a nice day, anything?
¿Cómo se llama?
Yes.
What's your name? A lot of people say it's a lot like a family, but I really think it is. You can go to any teacher if you need help. Everyone supports each other, whether it's going to football games, basketball games, other sports, hanging out outside of school. So I like the family aspect of it. I would have to say Katie Ledecky and Michael Phelps, because they're both swimmers.
Swimmers, good choices, all right.
I don't really watch TV, but on Netflix I just watched Gossip Girl, and I like that a lot.
I'm not familiar with that.
I don't really know what I want to do for work. I've been thinking about maybe physical therapy or something involving working with athletes, because I really would want to do something like that, whether it's a personal trainer, a swim coach, I don't know. So, yeah.
Now, some of you, I'm sure, know Bryn's father, Dana Kiley. He was a stand-on golfer and basketball player at Boylan back in the 90s. Our local football teams can't compete right now, but there's still a big football competition going on each week.
Yeah, it's our Battle of the Stadiums contest. Last week in a Nick 10 matchup, Swanson Stadium at Guilford defeated Hononegah's Kelsey Field 58% to 42%. In an NUIC matchup, Forreston Stadium won out over Orangeville's Stadium 74% to 26%. Now let's meet this week's contestants. Well, there you have it. Go vote for your favorites now or anytime this week by going to our website, mystateline.com. Look for the Battle of the Stadiums tab or image.
Let's take one final time out while the Byron Band from last fall takes us to the break.
Welcome back. Let's take another look at tonight's poll question we asked you. Do you still agree with the IHSA's decision to postpone high school football to the spring?
There you see the results. If we could put those back up at the bottom of your screen, it was 67% of you saying, no, we don't agree. In essence, we want football to be played right now. So the majority of you say, no, we want our fall sports and our football. No, they're retabulating, and there you go. 67% said no, like I said. Well, thank you for your feedback, folks. Be sure to join us each Friday night at 11 for Overtime. You can also catch the rebroadcast Sunday mornings at 9 on Fox 39. That does it for this show. Enjoy your weekend.
We leave you now with some top football highlights from last year.
Overtime. Sponsored by Wendy's. They got you for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and everything in between.